Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where we need to do our final mission to construct the ISS. So let's hop right on in here. This is the very last one, and we'll see if we manage to recover our Falcon 9 booster. Fingers crossed on that one, but it's entirely execution based at this point. If we fail it, it's because I messed up. No way around it. So we're going to launch the iRosa again. It's going to be the exact same vehicle. We're just doing the other side of the station. And we're going to do this as the iRosa 2. So we're going to save this and we're going to launch this exactly as before. So we're just going to put this on the pad and we're going to head straight on up. It's going to take us a little bit of time to get there. I'm planning for this to be a 2-episode mission, but we'll see if that ends up being the case. But it likely will. So, docking is going to be interesting, isn't it? We have a large docking port. Well, we'll figure that out when we get there. We'll figure it out. So, we want to definitely... skipping circularization is fine. Orbital altitude of 300 kilometers sounds good. We'll set the ISS as our target, launch into plane of target, and we'll engage this autopilot. Fantastic. We'll just head off on autopilot as usual. And we're just going to have to do our manual staging, and there's a lot of things that we still need to do, even when we're doing this on autopilot. The autopilot does save us a fair amount of hassle and time, though, so that is great. So we're going to lift off here in about 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, and off we go. Fantastic. So we're, of course, going to be recovering our first stage here, or attempting to. We'll see how that ends up going. Propulsive landing on Kerbal is spicy, no doubt about it. I'm pretty decent at it without an atmosphere, but atmospheres add a lot to the equation. It makes it a lot more complicated. No doubt about that. So upward we go, and we're going to have to do our standard detachment here in a moment. Well, I say in a moment. In like 50 seconds. It's going to be a little while yet. We need to have a fair amount of vertical speed because we need enough time to get our second stage into a proper orbit, or at least at the right apoapsis is what we really need at that point. But we also need to be going fast enough that the first stage doesn't run into issues. So we're going to be staging this here in about 30 seconds. And we're at an apoapsis height of about 28 kilometers. If we were to stage now, obviously we'd have issues. But we've got lots of fuel left, and we want to continue to propel ourselves forward for the time being. Apoapsis height of 50 kilometers now. And we've got about another 10 seconds of burn time before we do our separation. 70 kilometers. 80. 90. It looks like it'll be fine. Separating now. Okay. Separation completed. And that will coast to about 100 kilometers. That sounds absolutely great. At this point, we can certainly physics warp our way through. We're going to want to be getting as much horizontal speed as possible, bringing our apoapsis height up to about that 300 kilometer mark. We're now in space and our solar panels have deployed. Fantastic. So we need a lot of horizontal speed, of course, to bring this up to 300 kilometer apoapsis. But that'll be absolutely fine. I'm just now double checking that we've got Bill on board. I probably should have done that earlier, but we do have Bill on board. It would be very awkward if we didn't. Okay, coming out of physics warp, we are reaching our apoapsis. Perfect. We're going to be doing a land landing, yes? Yes. Okay. So this is going to be a spicy one. We're going to hop over to the first stage because we need to now be working on recovery. We've got about 10 minutes of coast time for our capsule. Oh, this is an exciting place to be facing. We're going to start heading over towards surface velocity minus and turn on our air brakes. Although, of course, it's going to be a little bit till those do anything, so we're going to have to slowly turn with our reaction wheel. Excellent. How much burn time do we have? 11 seconds. Sounds good. So we're making our way around to the surface velocity minus, which is right up over here. We're going to be hitting atmosphere right about Now, I'm not going to do our re-entry burn until about 40 kilometers, but that's going to be coming up fast. We're down already to 50 kilometers here, and performing the re-entry burn as of right about now. Maintaining 7 seconds of burn time, and that should do the trick. Fantastic. I'm not going to deploy our landing gear just yet. I deploy it earlier than they do in reality, but I'm not going to do it just yet. So we are accelerating still. We will start decelerating shortly. We're moving at a pretty good clip here, no doubt about that, but we're now beginning to decelerate. Looks good. I'm going to get our landing gear out so we don't have to think about that. And keeping an eye on our radar altitude here. 10 kilometers up. 8 kilometers up. 7. 6. 5. 4 kilometers up. Significant slowdowns are occurring, of course. 3 kilometers up. 2 kilometers. Commencing landing burn. Okay, we're overshooting it a bit. Let's bring it back. Cool. Coming in a little bit fast here. Ooh, okay. We broke a landing leg there, I'm pretty sure. This is not going to go well. Ooh, hang on. Hang on. We do tip over and we lose some of the stuff up over here. We came in a little too fast there, no doubt about it, but this is the section that matters. I'm going to call that a partial success, and we're going to recover that. It's spicy, no doubt about it, coming in with like that. It's very spicy. Because we have to think a lot about both the angle of the terrain we're landing on as well as our attitude, but we don't have a huge amount of control over that. But we recovered the part that's important. The parts that blew up there were honestly, there's very little value in that. The engines were what mattered, and those survived the impact remarkably. I'm surprised about that. But here we are. It's spicy, no doubt about that one. But let's hop into the tracking station. We'll have some debris here, but the important thing is this. We'll recover that, and that is going to be worth 24,000. So we do end up losing about 11,000 from that, but that's not so bad, all things considered. We'll call that good. Oh, and there's some debris that splashed down here, apparently. Sure. This is from iRosa 1. I guess we had some parts fall off that I wasn't aware about. Okay, so we'll just fly this guy. I'm going to call that recovery a partial success. We got about 2/3 of the value out of it, and that's good enough. That is definitely good enough. With more practice, I would get better at that, but we've only had so many flights, right? So at this point, we need to... Actually, inclination change right about here would be fine. We can definitely do an inclination change there, and that is going to be... That's the wrong direction. A fairly minor burn. A fairly minor burn indeed. Somewhere around here. Okay, we'll align to that node. 34.8 meters per second. Sounds good. And we're going to be burning that in about 3 minutes, which is before our apoapsis, so this seems good. It's only about a 2-second burn. So let's warp on forward towards that. There we go. And we're going to commence this burn in, well, about a minute. 50 seconds, 40, 30, 20, 10, and 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, gonna call that good enough. And we are going to then, at the apoapsis here, start a circularization burn. Somewhere around... a little bit more like this. Cool. That looks good. So that's going to be about a 16-second burn. We'll align to that node. That'll be in about a minute 40. 200 meters per second means that we'll have about 800 meters per second left to get to the station and brake. That's more than sufficient. So no problem whatsoever there. Let's just warp on forward. I guess we should have manually warped this. Yeah, most likely. 50 seconds, 40, 30, 20, 10, And 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. Okay, so this will be a little bit more extensive of a burn. It's not going to be a tremendously extensive burn. We are officially in orbit now, but circularizing it is, of course, very convenient. Okay, we'll call it good about there. Yeah, that's very close to circular. Looks phenomenal. So we're currently in an interesting position with the ISS. This probably means that we're too late to do any sort of a interception here. Yeah, that's pretty much what that means. We probably should have gone for it right away, but here we are. Okay, so I'm just going to toss in a couple of orbits here. It's awkward in the timing, but it's absolutely fine. So we'll just position this right about here or so. That's a separation of 6.8 kilometers. We can definitely correct that. So we'll just align for this, 4 hours, 25 minutes. And let's warp. So we're going to have to do a few orbits here. That's not shocking. In reality, they do this for like 24 hours. I mean, deliberately. But yeah, that's definitely a thing that happens in reality. So we are going to commence this burn in about a minute here. 50 seconds. 40, 30, 20, 10, and 3, 2, 1, 0, mark. About a 4-second burn here. Getting that last little bit. Okay, that'll do. Looks fine. Next up, we need to still have this as our target. Okay, there we go. And let's warp to about here or so. While we're warping, we'll switch into target modes, and we'll do a corrective burn once we get there. So the station should be almost viewable from here. I'm not sure exactly where it is right now, but we should be getting closer and closer to it all the time at this moment. It's around somewhere. For the moment, we're only 45.5 meters per second. I want to do a corrective burn out over this way. I'm putting us in kill rot. And then I'm going to do a corrective burn approximately here. There we go. That puts us at 0.9 kilometers, much better. Let's warp ahead to the ascending node here. And we're going to want to head to the retrograde side. I believe we're loading in right now. Okay, we're closer than I thought we were. Noted. I never actually saw the station. That was entirely by instruments. Where is it? There it is. Okay. Frame rate is not great here, which is not shocking. Okay, we're going to need to move around. We can see us definitely moving off this way a fair amount. I'm going to put us into kill rot mode, and I want to push this node. Just doing a quick corrective burn here. Okay. About like that. It's not perfect, but it's good enough for now. So engine shutdown. I want to move to relative velocity minus. We're checking in here 0.0. Okay, that's good enough. So at this point, we're going to need to warp in a bit. We are about 1 kilometer away. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to quick save the game, and I'm going to restart quick, because we've got a lot of time left in the episode, and that frame rate is not great. So I will see you guys after a quick game restart. Okay, so here we are with the game restarted and a somewhat better frame rate. Hang on, there we go. Swapping back over. Perfect. So relative velocity minus here, we're going to need to commence our braking burn very shortly here. In fact, kind of right now. And I'm going to do exactly that. Now, what direction are we heading? This is not exactly in a fantastic direction. So I'm going to add us a little bit of directionality in one of these ways. Yeah, about here or so. With the idea being, I want this to be on not an intercept trajectory. Okay, RCS off. And at this point, I'm going to ditch this tank. We just don't want that to hit the station, right? So we're just going to ditch that tank. Fantastic. And now we're going to change our trajectory to be out this way. Fantastic. So we just want to be heading towards the station right now. Now, the question is, what docking port do we want to reach? So we're going to open up our shielded docking port, and I want to zoom out a little bit and look at the station here. So we want to deploy our iRosas on this side. So that basically means our desired docking port is perhaps like over here if there was one. Where is our best docking port going to be over here? So we're going to want it to be on this side here, right? And that basically means ideally docking somewhere down over here, but I'm not sure that there is much of a docking port there. On the underside, I believe that there is. I think for the moment, all we're going to need to do is get a little closer. So we're just going to position this at relative velocity minus. Okay. And I'm just going to warp us in ever so slightly here. We're coming in relatively quickly. We're going to want to brake soon. And that's not braking, that is accelerating. We want to go this direction. So is this a regular docking port here? It's a Clampetron docking port, yes, but it's nowhere near where we want to be. That's the core issue. What about this? Is this a docking port? It is. I think that's the one we want to target. Okay, bringing this down to about 1 meter per second here. So 1.3, 1.2, 1.1, and 1.0. Cool. Now, I want to have this be going in a vertical direction here. Let's just rotate ourselves so that we are about like this or so. So we have a little bit easier directionality to work with. And I want to go in this direction. Cool. So I want to be pointing currently like at target. So let's get this rotated around. I don't want to physics warp at this position, of course. But let's just get rotated around here without RCS. And we're just slowly heading in the meantime. We are, of course, going to need a little bit different velocity, and I want to get our rotation changed. Actually, our rotation being the way it was kind of okay, now that I think about it. This direction might actually be ideal. Okay, so position that there for now, and I'm going to get our RCS a bit better lined up here. Yeah, more like this. So we want to be heading a fair amount up right now, and that is indeed exactly what's happening. At this point, we probably have enough upward velocity. We can position it a little bit more like this and curve our vector over. And we can just continue to do that. Once we get directly over this guy, or very close to it, then we can just kill that velocity overall. Okay. So we're just bringing that velocity along with us and curving this on over. We're heading basically towards the target now. But we're still heading a little bit in this direction. And that should be good. So I do want to be thinking about whether we're going to impact here. So I'm going to rotate us around this direction. Should be reasonably fine. Okay, and we'll just do something kind of like that. We're going to have to go this way. So that is... what direction is that? What direction indeed? That is this way. Okay. So we'll just do something about like that, and we're just bringing this guy right on in. Okay. So we're going to be moving in nearly straight right now. Nearly straight. I don't know. This feels like we don't have a lot of space here, but maybe we do. Now I'm heading directly for the docking port. I don't know about this solar panel, but I think we'll have the space. Okay. So docking forces were a little strange there, no doubt about that. And we need to head over this direction a little bit. But that's about all we need. We should be able to dock here relatively easily. If we get that velocity in. Okay. Head on in. Just get that rotation going a little bit. Like, we just need to point at target, right? It keeps bouncing us back this way, which is kind of awkward. I'm just going to overshoot it a little bit more than I think we need. And I think we're also a little off in this angling. No, that's pretty good, actually. Okay, just bring it in. Yeah, we're very, very slightly off here. Are we controlling from here? If so, that might be some of what's going on. Or if not, rather. Okay. So we can see that we're a little bit off on our angling here, and specifically we need to go this direction, which is this way. Okay, now we're docked. Perfect. So that brings us into position here, and this is a kind of awkward place to be docked, but it is about where we need to be to deploy our iRosas out over here. So as before, we're going to need to open up our service bay here and deploy these out over here. It is, I think, a reasonable time to put a cut in here, and we can get these deployed next episode. I think that's probably going to be our best bet, to be honest. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and next episode, we're going to get our ISS completed, and we are then going to bring these guys on home and get started on the Artemis program. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Shadow Wolf, Kentogan, Ali Lee, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, Soccerman12UK, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.